I'm welcoming Miriam Cummings to have a conversation about the Jesus Report. And when I first of all started to hear about the Jesus Report and some of the statistics that were in it, I was sort of blown away. And so it's worthy of a podcast. The least it is worthy of a podcast. So, Miriam, thank you for agreeing to come and sort of share with us about the Jesus Report. And where I like to start is just, can you introduce yourself just so that people get a sense of who you are and where you're based and things? Is that okay?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm Miriam. I'm married to Johnny. We have two children, and we're based in Cardiff. We moved down to Cardiff from Manchester, so that's the accent. Just over 3 years ago to plant a church. So we came down here for that, and what a place to be in South Wales. So yeah, and also work for the Evangelical Alliance as well, and work as church engagement coordinator. So I get to meet lots of amazing people doing brilliant things in and around Wales. So yeah, pleasure to be here.
Great. What a privilege to see the wider picture of what God is doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I see that and recognize that privilege myself in interviewing, meeting so many different people. So lovely.
Yeah.
So let's turn our attention to the Jesus Report. And there will be some who have never heard of this, okay?
Yes.
But hopefully by the end of this conversation, they will be encouraged, inspired. And so that's what I want to draw out if we can. Okay, Miriam?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so Talking Jesus Report is incredibly encouraging. It started in 2015. There was a group of around 40 or so key Christian leaders gathered together to pray into the idea of mission and that collective understanding of what God's doing across the nation. And the Talking Jesus Report was born out of that, and originally in 2015. But more recently, a new report in 2022, which is what we're going to focus on today. And really what it is about, it's about displaying and exploring what God is doing in and around the UK, specifically in Wales, is what we're going to look at for this conversation. What people think about the church, non-Christians, and what non-Christians think about Christians, the people that maybe they
That's an interesting
bump
one,
into,
isn't it?
and what, talking across the street or work colleagues. What do people actually think about us? Yeah. And I have to say, when I first heard this research myself as a church leader, but also obviously working for the EA, I was absolutely blown away, like you said, and extremely encouraged. So that's where it's come from. It's a collaborative effort with different organisations, one being the Evangelical Alliance, Hope Together, the Louis Palau Association, and Kingsgate Community Church. So a real collective unity piece of work, really, to I suppose encourage the church of what God's doing.
Yeah, and it certainly worked with me. When people, I don't know if you're the same, but when you hear words like research, survey, and you think, oh, boring, if anybody feels like that at the moment, don't go off air.
Yes.
Carry on watching, because you will be encouraged, by the time that we've sort of opened this up a little bit. So absolutely. With regard to the survey and the research, was it questionnaires? Was it people going out on the streets and engaging? How did they sort of carry it out? Do you know?
Yeah, so it was on kind of online research conducted through Comres Savant, which is a recognised survey company. So I think that's what gives it that credibility, really, that it's not just I suppose, a little survey in the corner of a local church, but it is weighted, it's done properly, with thousands of contributions. And this is what's come from it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there are, you've got highlights from this, because you're immersed in this, as part of the role that you've taken up with EA.
Yeah.
So just draw out a little bit of the highlights. What's really struck you that will encourage Christians in Wales and wider as they listen to this? But let's just open it up for us, would you, Miriam?
Of course, yeah. And it's similar to what you were saying when it comes to numbers and stats. For me personally, that's not what kind of excites me. Yes, I'm not a statistician. I'm not, a mathematician or anything like that. But what's amazing about this is when you begin to understand what the numbers are representing in terms of stories and people. So I've got 5 highlights really from the research.
Wonderful.
And I'll also give you a link at the end so people can go in their own time and delve a bit deeper. But the first thing, the first question really, and the first bit of information I wanted to share was, who do people in Wales think Jesus was?
And that's the question that was asked, was it?
Yes, this is a question that was asked. And 49% of Welsh adults believe Jesus was a real human being.
49%.
49% of Welsh adults. So this is people that don't go to church, that aren't actively in faith, but that's half of Welsh adults believe that Jesus was an actual human being. He's not a fictitious character. He's not something that was made up. He's not a character of a fantasy novel. He is a real human being. And I think that in itself is an amazing starting point, even around the conversation of mission and evangelism. And I picked out some of the key words that people have used to describe who they think Jesus was. 43% of people said spiritual, 39% said peaceful, 38% said wise, and 37% said loving, which I think incredible words of what we know of who Jesus to be. But incredible that people have identified that themselves and maybe don't have a relationship with him yet.
Exactly, because we know that through experience. But they have this mental perception prior to having an experience. So that's a really positive platform to go on, isn't it?
Yes.
So
so a great starting point, and it just gets better.
Go on.
So the second highlight I wanted to pull out was, where do people go to find out about him? So where are people going? Maybe they've got this perception. He's peaceful. Well, I need a bit of peace in my life. Where do I go to find out about him? And in Wales, 32% of people will go to a Bible to find out about Jesus.
And we're talking here about non-Christians.
We are, yes.
32%, their go-to will be the Bible.
It's the Bible. So in Wales specifically, in other UK nations, it was firstly Google. But in Wales, it's the Bible. And I think that's an incredible opportunity.
Amazing.
On the back of this, if it's okay to share, just in our local church, we purchased a couple 100 Gospels and have distributed them just to students kind of on the streets, and given them to our students to give to non-Christian friends based on this research.
Because you're taking...
that's what people are saying. They're going to go to find out more.
Yeah, you're taking advantage of what this survey has shown you.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so that was great. No, it's great. And so 26% will go to Google. So again, still up there. I think that's representative of the digital age that we live in. Most people, you've got a question, I'll just Google it. So that is up there as well. But 20% of people would go to a local church, which I think highlights the importance of the visibility of the local church on our streets.
Did you say 20%?
20%, yes.
What a responsibility that puts on us. If 1 in 5 people who are searching would come to us as a church, there's a responsibility there, isn't there?
There is a responsibility, isn't there, to be
Christ to them,
to be open and welcoming and Christ-like, and I suppose in prayer, that when they come in to encounter a local church and the people of the church, it will confirm to them what they already have in terms of perception of Jesus. So I think that's an incredible opportunity, isn't it? The local church is the hope of the world. And this stat here is saying that people will go to a local church to find out more. So things like Alpha and, you know, our new to faith courses that we might have in our local church is really important. So that was encouraging as well.
I'm going to need to apologize to you for interrupting.
No, not at all.
Yeah, this
Please
is what
do.
happens.
It's like you get excited.
This is what happens when I get excited. I just want to, yeah. So
please don't apologize. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm getting excited, and I've heard these stats before. So
yeah. Yes, no, I know. So me too.
Yeah, I need to calm down a little bit and let you sort of share the story. Sorry, Miriam. Sorry.
Please don't. Honestly.
Yeah. Go on. This is amazing. Carry on.
Yeah. So the third highlight I wanted to pull out was, where are these people? So these people that we're talking about, these non-Christian, or these people that aren't necessarily practicing their faith, where are they? And 36% of people, so 62% of people in Wales know a practicing Christian. So 62% of people in Wales know a practicing Christian.
Wow.
It's quite a high number. And of that 62%, 36% of those are friends, 36% of those are family, and there was a few other lower percentages as well, with acquaintances, you know, colleagues, people that you might not necessarily have such much close relationship. But again, to think that a high percentage of those people are your friends and your family, again, I think often with mission we think about going out on the streets, and of course that's 100% fantastic, but sometimes our mission field is as local as our family and around the table at Christmas, or, you know, birthdays and friendships that we have. That is an amazing mission field as well.
Wow. I feel I need to put my hand up if I want to say something now.
Please go.
I'm only joking. Yeah, but I know. When you think about that figure of 62% know a practicing Christian, okay, what strikes me there, Miriam, is that as the church, the body of Christ, and, you know, when you hear the stats about how many born-again Christians there are in Wales, etc., we get this sense of we're a little bit insignificant and people don't notice us. But 62% of people in Wales know a practicing Christian.
Yeah.
That sort of, you know, turns that thinking around, that we're insignificant as a body, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think you're so right with that, because I think for a long time, maybe it's been media driven or just society at large. I suppose we've gotten this perception of ourselves, of the church, of our individual Christianity and how we walk that out, that maybe it's not having an impact, maybe it's not significant, and the world's moved on and people don't necessarily care anymore. But what is so encouraging about this is that in some ways it's telling us the opposite.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. And that's exactly how I felt when I started to learn about this about 12 months ago, 18 months ago. And that's why I was keen to bring it to the front.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to keep this, you don't want to keep it to yourself. I don't want to keep it to myself. The body needs to hear about this in Wales. So amazing.
Yes. Yes. I've got two more. I mean, there's lots more, but I just picked out 5. So the fourth one here is these people that we're talking about, how do they see Christians? And the answer is they see Christians really positively. So 63% of people in Wales see Christians as caring.
63%?
Yes, as caring people that care. 51% as loving, and 38% as generous. So I just picked up some of the top percentages there. So I think if you thought it was just that, caring, loving, and generous, there's some incredible adjectives really to describe us as Christians, that we're so happy to be known as that, wouldn't we? As caring and loving and generous, and the stats are saying that's how people see us. And so I think again it's that opportunity to push into that even more. You know, our local mission field, our friends and neighbours and family, and to be light in the world. It's actually being seen.
Amazing. Are there any sort of, are there any sort of negative traits that have come out that people look at the church and they go, you know?
There are,
Yeah.
and I just pop this down in my notes to highlight, because yes, there are. Some people see Christians as hypocritical, selfish, or unhappy, for example. These are some of the words that we use, but the percentages are so low. It's 3 to 5%.
Okay.
And I think, again, whether it's media-driven, society-driven, my perception before I, read this research or had it presented to me was that most people think Christians are hypocritical.
Yeah.
They say one thing and they do another, and that's put me off Jesus. And actually, it's not what this is saying. It's almost something that we've believed that isn't true.
Yeah. It turns our thinking on its head, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Really, really. And I pray that that figure of 5%, 3%. I pray that goes down.
Yeah.
And that the other comes up even further.
Higher. Yeah.
But for those three to be the top of the list: loving, caring, and generous.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's true, isn't it? I think if there's a crisis in the world, I suppose there's many even great Christian charities that are, doing great work to raise funds to help those in need in times of crisis across the world. And maybe it's that's that observation that people see, or maybe there is that sense of local church, food banks, and toddler groups, and loads of different things that the church does that's generous to its local community. And I think it's so encouraging that people do see that.
Amazing. I was just thinking as well, with this survey now, how as individuals we can sometimes have a low self-image, right? Yeah. But what's true as well to say is, on a wider base, the church in Wales, or anywhere really, can have a poor, low self-image. Yes. But this turns it right on its head, doesn't it?
It does exactly that. I think there's so much negativity, isn't there, in press, in newspaper headlines, and we all know that negative headlines sell newspapers and that type of thing, but it's not really a reality. And that's what is so encouraging about this report, is that it's bringing truth before us, whereas before this, where would we have known this information? We probably wouldn't, would we? We'd just continue to keep believing what is perceived out there about us is negative, and actually like I've said, it's not. It's positive for the most part. It's a positive image, so that's encouraging.
Yeah. And I was thinking as well how, this wasn't, you've already touched on it, this wasn't something that the church did as a sort of a closed institution to feel good or to feel bad about itself. This was done professionally by a professional researcher. Yeah. Okay. Am I right to think that the first time they did this in 2015, that when the results came in, they thought, hang on, this isn't right. This is too positive. This can't be right. And they did the survey again, and the same results came back in. Am I right?
Yeah, I think you're right. And it was before my time, so my knowledge is not as great on that one. But I think you're right. But also, we, as the EA, we're in the middle of conducting a Faith in Wales report, and those findings are starting to come through. And similarly, we've had that conversation. This is really good. Are we sure? And again, positive findings coming from research. So incredible. I know.
So you've got one more. You've got two more.
I've got one more. Yeah. So my save the best for last. This is great.
Oh,
a great one.
Yeah.
So my fifth one is, these people that we're talking about, do they want to know more? So after having a conversation perhaps with your uncle at Christmas dinner or your neighbour across the fence? Do they want to know more? And 1 in 3 non-Christians are open to knowing more about Jesus after a conversation with a Christian.
Okay.
That's 1 in 3.
I want you to say that one again slowly
Yes.
so that we don't miss that one. Go on.
1 in 3 non-Christians are open to knowing more about Jesus after having a conversation with a Christian. That's 1 in 3.
33%.
Yes. Amazing, isn't it?
And, without being forced or anything, they're just open for it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And that's it. I think, I've touched on it before, but I think in your day-to-day ordinary life, the Bible says, doesn't it? Give God your day-to-day, your ordinary life, the things that you're going about doing. And in that, we're all having conversations and encounters with someone at the supermarket or in the library or the school gate or in the university library. And to maybe have this in the back of our minds to think, maybe this could be the 1 in 3, the person that wants to take this conversation further. That's so many people. So I think to have this as Christians almost in our back pocket, in the back of our minds, just as a reminder that everybody that we're talking to, 1 in 3 is open to learning more, I think is incredible.
One of the ways that you shared with us as to how this has influenced the church that you're part of in Cardiff is that you give out John's Gospel, did you say?
Yeah, Luke's Gospel, actually.
Luke's Gospel.
Yeah.
So you give Gospels out, and that's a direct result of these figures, what you've learned.
Yes.
Are there any other things that sort of from this survey that have influenced you in the way that you do mission or in the way that, Can you share those?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just with the Bible that we had, another part of the research in this report, it asks the question to people, what questions are they asking about life? And some of the questions that came out of that were, what happens when I die? Will everything be okay? Who is Jesus? So who was the biblical person of Jesus? What's my purpose? What's the meaning of life? We know that one, don't we? It comes up so often. So they're just a few of the questions that people are asking internally when it was put to them through this research. That's what came through. And so we got a QR code printed as a sticker with the question, is everything going to be okay? Right. And underneath it said the Bible has something to say about that. And we popped that sticker in these Bibles so that people can scan that QR code and it takes them directly to a local church. And another thing that we've done on the back of Easter, which is often such a great opportunity, isn't it, for people coming in maybe for the first time through an invitation, we did a preaching series on the back of Easter around these questions. So said, come back next week. We dare you to come back for the next 3 weeks. We're going to look at these questions. Will everything be okay? What is my purpose? What happens when I die? And who is Jesus? And seen some amazing fruit come from that. It's just almost like a next step in terms of that mission or that invitation to people. And that's come directly from this research.
I love the way that you sort of, what's the expression, scratching the itch, really.
Yes.
Because you recognized this is what's going on internally in people.
Yeah.
Let's address that. Let's help them draw that.
Absolutely. And these are the types of questions that I suppose if you're just having a quick coffee with somebody, you're not necessarily going that deep. Perhaps you are, but maybe not, particularly with someone that is not, doesn't have faith. But everyone has eternity in their hearts, don't they? So everybody is searching and searching for answers to these questions. And so exactly that, to be able to kind of subconsciously maybe even just answer those deep questions of life is really helpful.
It's so encouraging to have somebody explain in a methodical way what's come out. And there's more, isn't there? There's much more.
There is so much more. And so I picked out my top 5 highlights, which I think would be the most encouraging, I think, for the people that are listening or watching this. But what I would say is for anybody to go and download the report, or we can send a physical copy to anybody that wants one, just to delve into it a bit deeper. And we're here to answer any questions as well that people might have.
Great. I'll put a link. I'll put a link so that people can go directly to it.
Brilliant.
Okay, that's the first thing. What would you say now to the individual Christian who is listening to this and they're thinking, wow, there's a massive opportunity out there that I didn't realize. Yeah. What would be the first baby steps that you'd give them? I'd say to them, and then as far as church is concerned, a church leader, that wants to encourage his church based on, what he or she has heard. What sort of things would you sort of encourage them?
Yeah, I think for the individual person, first and foremost, I think it's encouraging. We're maybe not all called to be evangelists, but we all called to evangelize and be witnesses to who Jesus is. And I think, firstly, if people don't have friends that maybe don't know Jesus, it's a great opportunity to just go and try and make some friends that aren't of faith, practicing Christians. That's a great first step. I think as well, maybe where there's been family, where over the years maybe people have grown disheartened or discouraged because they've tried to witness, they've tried to have conversations about Jesus, and maybe it's felt like it's come to a dead end, but actually to be encouraged to go again and to really pray into those family members that their hearts would be soft to the gospel. I think that those 2 things that I would say to start with, because I think it's not easy, but it's simple.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Yeah. It's not easy, but it's simple. Okay.
Yeah. It's not easy, is it, to go and make a friend, when you're in your 30s or your 40s even, and you're not, maybe you start a new job. That's probably a good place, or a new mum. That's another good place to start making new friends. But it's not easy, is it, to kind of open up your life again to new friends in our later life, mid to later life. But it is simple, isn't it, to be caring, loving, generous. Also then to a church leader, I mean, we're seeing it even more so with other research reports that have come out even since this one, that are saying very similar things, particularly around Gen Z and students.
This is the quiet revival.
Adults. Yes.
This is the quiet revival. Yeah.
Everyone is talking about it, and rightly so. And I think we've got another piece of research coming out in July. It's called Finding Jesus. Okay. And that is around the pathway to faith in adulthood. So that will be a really good almost partner to the Quiet Revival, which has drawn out and focused on Gen Z. Yeah. And this is in adulthood, so people in later life that have come to faith, the pathway, how did they get there? And so what I would say to the church leader is to be encouraged and to go for it, to encourage the church to local and individual mission. Maybe it is a fun day on the park, giving out cookies and flyers, invitations to church, but also the individual friend, family. I suppose as someone who's planted a church, the greatest growth that we've seen is through new Christians, but not necessarily through flyering or being on the streets, but by one person at a time, finding faith for themselves and then inviting their friends into that relationship with Jesus. So the Bible says it, doesn't it? The harvest is ripe. The laborers are few, but I think maybe there's a shift in our mindset as church leaders, as the church, that actually we're all laborers. And if we can activate that, then the 1 in 3 that we've talked about here, we'll see amazing things happen, I believe.
Great. Would you come back to talk about the other things as well.
Absolutely, yes. Come back
Yeah.
anytime, of course.
Brilliant. If you'd have said no, I'd have cut that bit out.
Yeah, exactly.
But you said yes, so
it just ended abruptly.
Yeah. Before we close now, Miriam, is there anything else that you really want, that's just burning on your heart, that you want to share? You know, that you feel, oh, I should have said that, or is there anything? If there isn't, that's fine. I just like to give the opportunity. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think so, to be honest. I think I really wanted people to feel encouraged.
Yeah.
And you gave me that opportunity with that question just then. So I think, yeah, if people can take nothing from this other than a sense of encouragement in their spirit, then that's a great thing.
That is a wonderful place to end this. So
yeah.
Miriam, thank you for the time you've given today and how you've opened this up to us and encouraged us. Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'd love to get you back to talk about these things a bit further, maybe the other 2 reports, etc. But for
Absolutely.
now, okay. Thanks, Miriam.
Thanks for having me.
God bless you. Bye-bye.